Tremaine.
Hey, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Yeah, we are live, and you are live.
All right. Whole thing together.
Okay. Yeah. Let's hear it. I introed that we're going to talk safety.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just kind of. I figured I'd put some notes together and see where it led us. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I saw that, and then obviously I posted on Twitter after your post, and I watched that video, and I get why you did it. I mean, I totally do. But so a few things come to mind right away for me. First of all, I'm from Michigan too, so originally, so I'm not from Kalamazoo, but I have family all over the state. So I mean, I understand that when it hits things like this hit your state, it's a lot harder than when it hits another state, because then it runs the news cycle in another state for a couple weeks. But in Michigan, it was, running a long time, and this was a bad one too. But again, I really, the first thought I had when I was watching that video, and I don't mean to be a jerk or insensitive here at all, but was, if you were torn up, if that caused some kind of post-traumatic stress to you, or, a level of discomfort with that type of stuff, my first thing I say to everybody is, don't watch horror movies. I mean, obviously,
yeah.
And I know that your movie wasn't even about that. I mean, the killer in Kalamazoo, like you had already said, was doing drive-by killing. He thought the app was directing them. He thought app was God.
Right. Here, sorry, Steve. Let's back up just a second. So yeah, we got Steve here from the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. We were doing a live stream. I asked Steve if it'd be cool if we go live on my YouTube channel. We could talk about the Rideshare Rodeo podcast, and then we could talk about, he could talk to me, and we could use this for his podcast. So, so Steve's an expert when it comes to rideshare. He also has a podcast on rideshare. He saw a video that I made. If you guys haven't seen this video, it's responding to an IMDb comment of someone that was so upset with rideshare movie because of a incident that happened in Kalamazoo. So that's what we're about to talk about right here. And this is Steve's reaction. And yeah, so you thought, like, yeah, I mean, obviously it was something where I was just like, well, I kind of should just say something, right? Because, I don't know. It's like these days, like if I don't address something, and just kind of feel like I'm sweeping it under the rug, maybe that could look worse. I don't know. But what did you think?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, see, that's the part of me that, having a son myself, this worries me in a lot of respects, but I think that when we have to sugarcoat everything like we're doing to this country, I don't know. I think it almost makes it worse and puts it into people's faces too much. Like when people heard about this, there's nobody that thought, oh, that's not that bad of a thing. Like we all thought the same thing. The best thing is to let it go to rest. It doesn't mean the world's going to stop. You made a movie about rideshare. Even if it had been about what he did, yeah, then maybe you're touching on some ground that you might need to put a disclaimer of some sort out there. But this guy was like a Son of Sam type situation.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you had made that movie, maybe you would have had to say, hey, the events in this movie aren't, and, maybe some kind of warning, like, if this situation affected you in any way, don't watch this movie. But I don't think at all you're there. I don't know. I don't see it that way. I don't see that. You made the movie, and I know that I was actually surprised when I saw that because I had forgotten what he looked like, that the driver from Rideshare movie actually does look like the guy with the same name. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, that was the one thing that we did. We modeled the look after that guy. So because he was like one of the first killers, at least in the USA, I think. I don't know. It was like one of the biggest stories, at least. I could be wrong. There could have been others. We kind of based it off that look, like the hairstyle, and then the glasses. The glasses are a bit different in the movie than they were than the one that he did. But yeah, I mean, and that was kind of the basis of the character. So it was like, a guy who like middle-aged guy who's a bit overweight. He's got this goatee going on and glasses. I mean, it was just that, and that was like yeah, and actually Bradman doesn't the actor Bradley Lieberman, he does not actually look like the guy. Once his glasses are off and his hair is the way he actually does it. He doesn't do that like part on the side thing, and he doesn't have that goatee. He actually looks like way more friendly. Bradman looks way more friendly and is way more friendly, I think. Well, let's hope he's a lot more friendly than a killer. But
well, I mean, so when I was putting my notes together, I went to our website, which is almost 4 years up now, and I typed in driver. What did I do? Drivers killed. Now those keywords brought up passengers too, but I have 132 articles.
Whoa.
On UberLiftDrivers.com when you search just drivers killed. You do get some passenger ones too from the word killed. It got pulled up, but immediately like one came to my mind that people need to put this stuff into perspective, because the person who left that comment, I know that people leave bad comments all the time or whatever, but that one seemed to hit a little more personal, because I just couldn't wrap my mind around why she was watching this movie to begin with. But let's move past that.
I'm so tormented by what happened. Let me watch a movie about a similar subject.
It shouldn't just wait. If I'm a horror movie fan, so you kind of have me sold to begin with. Even if bad things are happening in the world, which they always are, I'm still a horror movie fan. I like them. I don't know. I like those movies. But I pulled up one article specifically, and I wanted to find this one, and I did. And it's from January of 2019. And there was a 20-year-old, this is in right outside of Phoenix, Fabian Durazo, who had hailed a lift, and 39-year-old Christina Pawato was the driver in the Phoenix area who went to pick him up. She was in her third trimester and pregnant, and Fabian Durazo, when she got to the location she was supposed to drop him off at, she said, "We're here." And right then, so she's, almost 8 months pregnant, he stabbed her 27 times and the baby.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's horrible.
And so when the police got there, there's quotes in this article, and it's on UberLiftDrivers.com about just, this is, here's a quote. Throughout our careers as officers, we have incidents that really touch our hearts and stay with us throughout our careers. And this is definitely one of those incidences. Now, that might sound like just some generic tag, but from a police officer, that's a pretty bold statement. And I can only imagine. This made a news cycle in Phoenix. It made nothing nationwide. And I don't know if you know about when Samantha was killed. There's been a lot of passengers killed, but she was a college student, and she was killed. She was drunk, got in the wrong car. The guy wasn't even a driver, took her off, raped her, killed her, left her. And that happened about 3 days apart from this. This received no national attention. And the drunk college student made headlines, nationwide news for 3 weeks.
What the hell? Why? I wonder why. Why did that one?
People don't care. They don't. They don't want the story about the 39-year-old
mom
who lives in Phoenix. They wanted the story about the 18-year-old drunk girl.
Oh wow. Yeah. It kind of really boggles my mind. Like what?
I just get so when I hear a comment like that, I didn't even so much get mad at the person who posted the comment as I did at the point that it was even posted, because it just reminds me, and I know that it's not people's fault, but it reminded me that a lot of people don't know the violent part is more at drivers.
Yeah.
Way more drivers get killed, way more than passengers. Now, passengers do suffer a higher rate of sexual assault, but that's still lower than a cap rate sexual assault rate. I mean, there's just some statistics we have to deal with as a reality, and it sucks. And maybe one day they will go away, but we do have people on this planet who will do bad things. I mean, we had, I wanted to just point out a couple things. So when you were saying, you were kind of bringing up some ways that Lyft and Uber could help make this better, but you got to remember they don't want to. Unless it's making headline news, it's bad for Uber and Lyft if they have to do any kind of PR, good, bad, whatever, about passengers or drivers getting hurt or stabbed or shot or anything. So it's a lot of under the rug brushing when it goes back to independent contractor status. But so they did check the car style and license plate. They tried that for a while. They did after Samantha died. They did this whole thing about make sure when you get into the car that you check in the back seat to make sure that the child lock isn't on before you shut the back door. I can't tell you how many people don't know where that safety feature is on the door.
Wow. That's something I didn't even think about. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. And that's something that is super scary. It's like, if you can't get out of the car,
But if the driver has it unlocked, pulls away and locks it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, and then they did Say My Name. That was a whole thing about Samantha too, which really blew up. And all it did was confuse people, because what it was the driver pulls up, the passenger walks up to the car, and they were supposed to say, can you say my name? And so, like, if I'm picking up somebody and their name is Paul, and they're like, can you say my name? I say Paul. And then a lot of confusion happened when drivers said, can you say my name? And people didn't understand that. They didn't understand, why is the driver doing this when I just said it? I'm walking up to his car out of all the cars here. Obviously, I'm the right person. Why are they doing that? That ties into a whole other problem that I think you kind of tapped on a little bit, that passengers call rides for other passengers. So if Paul isn't the guy now who's coming, and he says, say my name, and I say Paul, and he called it for a friend, and I say my name, his friend most likely doesn't know my name.
Right.
He probably said, hey, he's going to pull up in this kind of car here in a minute right out front, and then they're sitting at the bar. He's like, oh, there it is. There's your Uber. I got this for you, no worries. He goes out there. He's not going to know my name. And that, again, was why that was like that. But it caused a lot of bad ratings, canceled rides. And then they tried this PIN entry system, too, where it was when your driver pulls up, you'll be texted a PIN, and you input that, and your driver will know it's you. I mean, basically Uber and Lyft, if every time something happens, and they said passenger pic profiles were going to become necessary. They tried that for a while, but everybody and their mother put a picture of their dog. So they weren't verifying anything. They just said, we need a picture. So it had to go from generic populated avatar to one picture on your phone.
So is that for Uber? So for the driver, if for the passenger,
so we could recognize the passenger.
Right. Yeah. Because that's what I was wondering. Because the thing is, because when I was driving, I was like 2016, I think. Yeah, there was no. It's like, I think I said in the video, it's like it could be 3 a.m. You're picking up a Jamie, right? You don't know if it's a guy or a girl. You don't know what they look like. You go in this back alleyway, again, it's 3 a.m. Like, you don't know anything about this. And what you were saying, more violence against the drivers. And I believe it, because it was scary, actually, being a driver. That's why I was like, one time, it really was like, that actually happened to me. I had like a Jamie I was picking up, and it brought me to this really dark alleyway in LA, like the outskirts of LA, 3 a.m., super shady, super sketchy. And I'm like, there's no way. I'm just going to get the hell out of here. I like cancel the ride. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to drive at nights anymore. Even though I
can't even, and that went away real quick. I mean, they tried that. Some people populated pictures, and then they realized that wasn't happening. So they quickly just, again, everything gets brushed under the rug. something happens. Uber puts up a PR thing that says, we're going to do this to combat it. But almost immediately, every one of those, not only does it not do any good, they actually end up pulling them off the platform.
Really?
Oh, so all of these are gone. Like the check car and license plate, that's still on you. Check child lock, they don't even have that on their website anymore as a thing that you should do. They actually removed it. Say my name is something they don't even do anymore or promote. That was all over their website. Pin entry was tried in 4 cities for about a month, and they dusted that program. So they don't even want signs of that existing. So yeah, they just do this so that the press gets off their ass for a little bit.
And then they just go, and then they just revert. Then they just revert to what they were doing before.
No, so the people who uploaded pictures, because they didn't demand it, they kind of requested it. So the people who uploaded pictures of their dogs, those still remain. But I mean, I have pickups sometimes of like you were saying at 3 a.m. but I stopped doing the night runs even pre-pandemic. I was done with that stuff a while ago, but I'd get dumb money or Pimp Central or whatever. Like literally the names were so twisted. Like you were allowed to just make up fun names.
Right. Yeah. You're picking it. Yeah.
It had gotten so ridiculous. I'm like, you're making it 100 times worse.
Well, and that's the thing is like, okay, so and that's why it's more dangerous for the driver to drive, because the driver, first off, even to get accepted, they do a background check. I don't know how thorough their background checks are, because they have been some people that got slipped through the cracks, I guess. But for the most part, like if you pass the background check, you typically, that's a good sign, right? And you're the one that's driving,
Yeah.
and the passenger sees your picture, they see your license plate, your car number. There's GPS on the damn car, so it's like as a rider, you should feel really safe, but as a driver, you don't get any of that. I mean, again, like it could be some random name like, Pimp Daddy 3121 that you're picking up or whatever. And
actually, while you're there, Lyft actually promoted that for a while. They said, make this fun. I mean, they actually wanted you to put your first, last name, and then your nickname, and your nickname was what went up.
Wow. That's the thing. It's like one of those things. It's like,
make your nicknames fun. What? Alley Trash. Are you Alley Trash?
Sup? Hey, Alley Trash. Let me pick you up. Well, that's it. Well, that's the thing, dude. Is like I feel like that's one of those like boardroom meetings. Where like, oh, you know what we need to do? We need to make this all fun, and it's like they think it's like, oh yeah, a lot more people are going to use it now that you can make your own nickname, and they don't think actual just one step ahead. Like, wait a second, that actually could be a bad thing, and that it could actually be used for bad and not good. So, I think that's something where just hearing that idea, I would shoot if I was a CEO of Lyft or Uber, I'd shoot that down immediately.
Yeah, I mean, right now the drivers out there are facing a new problem of masks, because in May the platforms started requiring drivers, and they said passengers too would need to show a mask before they can pick up a ride. Well, drivers had to, but they never did the passenger part. And there's been a lot of, if you haven't noticed in the news, there's been a lot of fighting drivers who are wearing masks or who have barricades made to the front and back seat.
Jeez.
There actually was one in Florida of a guy, a 37-year-old male, with his son in the car, his 11-year-old son. The guy had been drinking or whatever he's doing, gets in the back seat with his son, and the guy had made a plastic partition out of saran wrap. Now, is that doing any good? No, but it was saran wrap and duct tape. He had a mask on. And the dude in the back was so messed up that he ripped down the saran wrap and said, that's it. Put the driver in a chokehold until he passed out driving.
While he was driving?
This is about a month ago.
Oh my gosh. What the hell?
While he was driving, he started pulling over, ended up hitting, I think they were on a highway or something. He ended up hitting one of the rails, and the other driver saw him slowing down and hit the rail. I think there was enough drivers, it was at night, that saw it, because a lot of people stopped immediately.
Oh, and that's good.
The passenger who had choked him out got out of the back seat, pulled the driver out, and started punching him he was out, the car started moving forward again with the kid in it. People are pulling over and going, what the hell? What's going on here? And the driver ran back and with his hands dove for the car and just pushed the brake with his hands, beat up with his eye all screwed up, choked out. And the kid was freaking out. This is his dad doing this.
Oh, my gosh.
So now by the end of this month, supposedly, finally, the May thing is supposed to happen where passengers will be required to take a picture just like the drivers are, prove they have a mask on before they can request a Uber or Lyft. But here's the catch, and I think this is bullshit, excuse my language.
It's okay.
But you have to be caught first. So if you're a passenger and you come up to a car and you say, yeah, okay, you're here for me, you're here for Jill. Yeah, okay, I'm Jill, I'm going to get in. Well, you don't have a mask, I need to cancel this ride. That has caused a lot of fights right there. That's where the fights happen usually. That the driver has to cancel because you don't have a mask.
Wow.
And they're like, well, I don't know anything about that. Well, the problem is when you updated your rider app, it's in the terms of service or the TOA, the terms of agreement.
Uh-huh.
And you just clicked OK and you never read it. But it does say you have to have a mask on you. But so a lot of the fights that happen there, now they're going to say that they're introducing this, but you have to be caught first. So a driver has to go through the fight with a passenger first, cancel the ride because of no mask, and then that passenger will therefore be required to show a mask.
Wow. Instead of just being required to show right off the bat.
I mean, it's just beyond me. What exactly? Why wouldn't you do this correctly? And just like with the drivers, say, listen, if you want to ride, you got to show a mask to everybody. Yeah,
I think something where that's why. That makes it really tough too. Like, how the hell do you know who you're picking up? Even with if there were pictures, then these people show up, and they've got a mask on. You see half their face, right? So even if there was pictures, well, maybe there was like. I remember they started doing this where you had to they had to confirm your identity, so the driver had to take a selfie before driving or in between driving or something like that.
Yeah, it would sometimes they pull over.
Yeah, so
before you can pick up your next ride and take a selfie of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, what if they did that for the passengers? I mean, the passengers had to have to take a selfie. With the mask off and with the mask on, I don't know, like beforehand.
So originally in May, it was going to be, I mean, for me to log on as a driver right now, I have to say that I have to click the box, I do not have COVID, and then I have to
Sorry, I think that's kind of funny, though.
And then I have to hit go online, and once I do that, the next flow screen is take a picture of yourself without your mask.
Oh, wow.
And then the next flow screen is take a picture with your mask.
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Now, there's no reason that when you open the passenger app, it shouldn't just say, so where are you going today? And once you put it in, see the rates and all that, and you hit request ride, right then it should say, hey, due to COVID, we need everybody to be wearing their mask. Please take a selfie of yourself with your mask on.
Right.
Before your driver arrives. That way they don't even have to ping a driver to go there and get it until they're actually sure this passenger has one.
And that's what's so crazy is that, like, it seems like they're pawning off that job to the driver now, and then now the driver looks like the bad guy, or the driver's really just doing his damn job, right? Like,
Well, I mean, they're just really stepping away from this because of AB5. They're just really stepping away from. We are not their employers.
What's AB5? What's that?
That's Assembly Bill 5. It's in your state. It passed into law January 1st, saying that all Lyft and Uber and other gig platform independent contractors are now have to be employees.
Oh,
and
wow.
Lyft and Uber and the other apps have not been obeying this rule. And now they're being taken to court on a bunch of different measures. There's a ballot, Proposal 22, if you look it up in your state, that'll be November 3rd on the bill. To vote yes on 22 is to say that you want to be able, that you're voting that drivers be able to remain independent contractors. To vote no on 22, you're saying that they have to be employees. Now, actually, the deadline was 2 weeks ago for that. And when the deadline rose where they had to follow through, literally, it was at midnight. And Uber and Lyft both said they're going to pull the plug on California until the vote and leave the state. And about an hour before midnight, when they had to close down their apps, they were given a stay until November, basically saying, okay, never mind. So the state backed down from their threat. But
Wow.
They were actually going to leave the state. They're like, no, we're not going to. We're not making. And everybody who, I can understand where both sides come from, but everybody who wants employee status seems to want to be. I don't know why they're the ones fighting hardest with this company. They're fighting for minimum wage.
Right.
Minimum wage. There's a ton of jobs out there that pay minimum wage.
Right.
So if that's what you're looking for, this just might not be your field.
And like the whole point of doing Uber is that it's not a minimum wage job, is that you can make decent money, during certain times, and the fact that you don't have set hours, right? Like, because if you're an employee now, all of a sudden now it's like, oh, what now you clock in 9 to 5? Like, that's the whole point of driving Uber to begin with, that it's not a 9 to 5, that you can do it on the top of your 9 to 5.
It's the same thing as being like a bartender. I was a bartender and server for years. I mean, you'd never rely on making when I was doing it, it was $2.13 an hour was bartender pay.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
Because you're getting tips. So there's no minimum wage doesn't apply. You get the tips pay. And so, but I mean, I made $25 to $35 an hour, and I knew that. So yeah, I'm working as a bartender. I never relied on my paycheck because usually it's zeroed out, because by the time I entered just the credit card tips, I would zero out my check and my hours.
What does that mean, zero out the check in the hours? What does that mean?
Well, because if they're paying me $2.13 an hour and I worked for 5 hours, that's what, $10.65.
Yeah.
So if I made more than that in tips, I don't get that money.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Oh, wow.
So every bartender and server I know never declares their cash tips. But you have to declare the credit card ones because there actually is a trail of where it came from. And
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, there's no way around that. Even with most of the POS systems, the Posi Touch, when you're checking out, would make you. I mean, obviously, it already had that done for you. But here's your credit cards. How much cash did you get? And I've seen 50 bartenders cash out at night, and all of them hit zero cash.
Wow.
It's just they just don't want to be taxed on that. But I mean, that's another gig that's been around forever that you don't pay tax. I mean, that's kind of the same thing. It's like they don't have to be paid minimum wage, and if they did, the restaurant and bar industry would go upside down.
It would just, there'd be no servers or bartenders, or.
They wouldn't. I mean, I've been in that industry. They wouldn't be able to afford you as a minimum wage employee.
Right.
With benefits, there's no way.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Unless all we want to be stuck with is Applebee's on every corner.
Right. Which we do not.
If you want to have cool bars and privately owned bars and good concept idea bars, you need to allow this to happen.
Yeah.
And as long as everybody's still paying their taxes, and this is where I debate it, because if you're not paying your taxes correctly, that's on you. But if you're making money and you're paying taxes on it with rideshare, well, you're still doing what you need to do. I mean, but you guys have a law out there now that just isn't being enforced quite yet. But there's a strong hand behind it. When you're on Twitter next, if you just do #AB5, watch what comes up. Watch the rainstorm of tweets you're going to see. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, but we're constantly dealing with this, and Uber and Lyft are constantly pushing it away. They don't want safety. They want money. It's the same thing with underage minors, unaccompanied minors riding in the car. Unless you cancel as a driver and say this kid's a minor, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a high school and the kid that ordered the car is using their parents' app, and they're just like, "Oh, my mom said it's fine if I use it."
Right.
I'm not taking you because it goes against Lyft's terms of service for me to drive an unaccompanied minor. Screw that. And I mean, it's just a fight that they leave up to us drivers to handle.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you pick them up or do you drive away or?
I usually just take my dash cam and turn it towards them.
Yeah.
And let them go off all they want.
Oh, I see. That's smart. Wow. So yeah, because
I just usually turn the camera angle a little bit, and I just say, if you could just look into the mic or into the camera.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Usually that got them to walk away. Yeah, I mean, otherwise I'm left to cancel it, and I want them to cancel it because not only have I waited, I went there to pick them up, I'm waiting, but now I need my cancellation fee for that wasted time when they really know that it's not okay. And I'm telling you, all these kids know it, but a lot of drivers are just willing to take them.
Right. Yeah, they won't.
So again, it's a thing where Uber knows they're making a lot of money off these unaccompanied minors, so they don't put it front and center for you to see. It's buried in a bunch of crap that you're never going to see.
That's the thing is like there's so many hairy situations. I mean, that's just one, out of anything, and that's why it was like so prime for a movie shooting. So because so many things can go wrong, so many things can be, so many things can go wrong, or there's so many like legal things going on with it, and it's just I don't know.
Again, I'll compare it to the bar industry. It's a very instinctual job. You have to be able to read the situation right then and there and see what the comfort level's at. Is the person slurring? It's like when they're drunk trying to get in the car. You need to cancel because they're going to throw up, and you know it.
Have you ever had someone throw up in your car?
Once, but I've had about 20 canceled because I know that they would have.
Wow.
It's, I've dealt with my share of like messed up situations, but I just try and I always played it by ear. I just go with my instincts. I've always trusted my instincts. They've served me well. And, I make sure that they can be fluent. Can they speak? Because I don't want somebody passing out, even with my dash cam running. I don't want somebody passing out and making up some story either. The last thing I need is police involved in something that never happened, even if I can show the proof that nothing happened. But again, there's a lot of drivers, especially in some areas, probably where you are, who English is their second language. And maybe it's choppy and they have a tough time with it even. So this puts them in a horrible situation if like a girl passes out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
I mean, what are they supposed to do? I mean, if they touch her, they're in trouble. It's just, again, I just say that if what you're looking for is a minimum wage a little bit plus with some health benefits, there's never ending jobs like that right now.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You can go get one of those and you can start it tonight.
Right.
If that's what you're looking for, do it. But if you're willing to give up some nights or early mornings or times when it's really busy and you're looking to make more out of something, then and you're friendly and personable, then maybe this will work for you. But I just believe this is an industry that isn't for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's tough to. I don't know why it doesn't make sense. Like why people would want. I guess the only thing I could think of is like they can get benefits or something. I guess, but I mean, even then, that doesn't even make sense.
Benefits are the big one, and a ceiling or a floor payment, which is minimum wage and some expenses.
Yeah,
so they want to know that at least. But see, they're tricked because they also believe that with this bill, when they become employees, they still think it's going to be Uber and Lyft like it's said. I'm just going to turn on for a couple hours. No. You're going to work shifts. You're going to go where they tell you. There's going to be no more acceptance because you're going to take every ride. You're an employee now. I mean, there's no employer in the world that lets you just work, turn on the app whenever you feel like working.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. Totally. And that's the beauty of it.
But I don't think they know what comes with it.
Right. Yeah. Once you take away that, and that is a thing, it's like something for me, like I've worked for myself for since 2012, and like even like doing Uber was like the closest thing to an actual job that I had, but that was the beauty of it to begin with. It was that I could turn it on at any point, that I could work whenever I wanted,
Exactly.
Yeah, or however long. It's like, oh, I've got an hour or 2 hours to kill. I can make a little money right now. And, or like I was doing weekends in LA, and like I had stopped drinking for a while. So I'm like, this will kind of keep me out of trouble too. And I'm making money instead of spending money over the weekend. So, it's like a great alternative. Like that's the whole point of having a freaking gig, job. Like you can work on your own, set your own hours and everything.
I mean, the employee status is going to kill off everything about this industry that's good. For the people who really know how to work it. And I mean, I think we're already seeing that, because anybody that AB5 has been going on for a while, and now that other states are watching California on this, it's kind of crazy, because it's all the polls or whatever data is being collected, it's around 80 to 85% of drivers want to stay independent contractors.
That makes sense.
And 15 to 20%, depending on the poll, want to be employed.
Yeah, that's dumb. So basically, yeah, I mean, I just don't see it actually happening. Like you said, I mean, they'd probably have some drastic time, hey, they're threatening to move out of California. I mean, I can't imagine how much Uber is making for the state, right? Like, because it was.
And the big push behind the legislation, by the way, if you didn't already put it together, is unions.
Oh yeah, right.
The unions want a piece of Uber and Lyft, big time.
Oh yeah, So is it like with like the taxi unions or something, or is it like a whole nother union?
Well, it's not, but it's exactly like that. Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
They're pushing it in a much different way on their approach. I think it's Congresswoman Lorena Gonzalez in San Diego. She's the big driver behind AB5. And she's also apparently going to be up for nomination for your Attorney General of California. So,
oh, wow. Is she Republican or Democrat?
I don't live there, but I'm not a big fan of hers. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Is she Republican or Democrat?
She's got to be a Democrat, but she's all over the map with her affiliations. She's like, yes, I won't do this. Yes, I will do this on the same topic.
Right. So she's a politician. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. She's through and through a politician kind of thing. I mean, she's trying to make headway here quick with her career while, just pleasing everybody, which we know, sometimes politicians somehow get away with it for a while, but sooner or later it cracks down on them, and these special interest groups and unions start veering away from these people.
Yeah, they say if you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody, especially not yourself.
Yeah, the major push for AB5 and the reason that they went to airport lots and did all this and that was that the union, this is all a union-driven thing. The unions want a piece of this. How could they not? You guys have 1.5 million gig workers in the state of California. If you don't think the unions want a piece of that, you're crazy.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like anytime, there's money to be made, there's going to be people coming out of the woodworks to try to get a piece of it. You know what I mean? So,
right. But especially no matter what you're feeling, I'm originally from Michigan, a lot of family from Detroit. So I have a bad taste about unions to begin with.
Yeah.
They've done nothing good for my family. Now, I can't speak for everybody, but they've done nothing good for my family.
Wow.
But, maybe these are good unions. I've just never really heard of a thing like good unions.
Yeah, no, I know. It just always seems like a racket. It always seems like, it just seems, I get how they are like, for example, like film industry, that's like a whole thing, like to get into the union or to be SAG, like Screen Actors Guild, right? You have to pay a few $1,000s just to be in it, for one. And I think there's a fee every single year. You pay a fee. Granted, it's like if you have a principal role, which means like if you say one word, I think the minimum you're going to make is $600 a day. So like that's the reason why they would have, it's just makes the cost way high. Like, yeah, okay, cool. As an actor, okay, yeah, now you can make a lot more money versus like being in some podunk student film or something like that. But as a producer, if you're trying to make something, that just means your the cost of doing everything just skyrockets, just goes way up. So I've never really been a big fan of it. Like there's always loopholes, ways around it. I want to be able to make something. I don't want to have to like jump through 20 million hoops just to try to get something, just to do what I'm already doing. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's ways around it. I mean, obviously I want to abide by the law and all that good stuff, but I don't want to have to, spend way more money or have to raise way more money or
have extra people on set or like a certain amount of drivers on the road. Unions go for that kind of stuff where they're like, you don't have enough people working right now. And you're like, I got more than enough people.
Yeah.
Like, well, you need two more. You need two more.
Oh yeah. And yeah, like I've been on these sets, like, and there's just literally dozens or hundreds of crew people just standing around. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're not doing anything. They're not actually, it's like, okay, I don't know. It just boggles my mind, like how much money goes into it, how much money is pumped into it. And I just don't, I mean, look, it's cool for people to get paid a lot of money, of course, and if I'm creating a project and everyone's getting paid well, like, yeah, obviously that's great. I want that to happen. Right. But I don't want it to be like some, like exorbitant amount just for no reason, just to meet a quota, So yeah, I just don't see the like, yeah, I just don't see the value in that. So, it just it seems like a big racket.
Right. So now in the ride share and gig game, you're kind of in this horrible position because, like, I don't want to side with Uber and Lyft. They're horrible.
No, you're right. Yeah.
I use their platform to make money because I know how to make money on it. But I don't go to dinner at their house.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, yes, I know how to use them how I want. Doesn't mean I respect or like I don't want to appear on their side. But at the same time, like I wouldn't even do this if it became a union gig.
Yeah.
Because when you start hearing the word floor payment, you can guarantee yourself that is going to be your payment all the time.
Wow, floor payment, that sounds awful.
I mean, when they say floor payment and they're saying, minimum wage plus X amount of expenses per hour, it comes out to, let's say, $14.11. You know that you're only going to see $14.11, even if it's surging and all this stuff. All of a sudden, those nights you make $40 an hour are gone.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So again, like you touched on, why would you do this? You're going to have a bunch of horrible drivers out there and a lot of turnover. And I don't even know if the companies are able to do turnover anymore like they used to because they've already been through everybody.
Right. Yeah. The turnover. Yeah, turnover would be insane. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just like the quality of the driver. It's like you're going to basically get like McDonald's employees as your driver. So shout out. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being a McDonald's employee or anything like that, but
no, but you're exactly right. You're going to get a bunch of people who are just like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do this instead. But again, there's already been the franchise model being looked at, which is where Uber will franchise out to LA, let's say 25 franchisees, and then let them be your employers.
Huh.
Uber doesn't have to be. So they're creating a middleman if they need to, and people don't understand that once that happens, you work for the franchisor. You don't get to say, I'm just going to turn out and work whenever I feel like it. So that's cool with you, right? And they say, no, here's your schedule. You have 20 hours this week. Here's your shift. Here's where I want you to be driving.
Yeah,
I mean, your freedom and your flexibility is gone if you want to be an employee.
Right. Yeah.
That word exactly means your flexibility is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's for anyone that does it, like anyone that does. I mean, Uber attracts those people that are trying to work harder, or trying to, make more money. And I think, and that is a good thing. I mean, because a vast majority of drivers
are good at it.
Yeah.
I used Uber and Lyft a lot, or especially pre-pandemic. I mean, I used it all the time if I was going out drinking, and I get boring drivers, I get bad drivers. I've had amazing drivers that are a lot of fun, and there's a big difference. And I know that sometimes it's just personality differences. So I'm not saying somebody who's just quiet is a bad driver. They're just a little different than I am. But like an outgoing driver to me is very appealing. Somebody who is into a conversation or what, can feel out the situation. But you're going to get a bunch of people who are just like, what? Shut up. Sit back there. Like it.
Right. Yeah. Or just like, oh yeah, just another day. That's why why do you think taxi drivers are so miserable? Like taxis were terrible. The days of taxi, like I think I mean, I did have a couple cool taxi drivers that I can remember way back in the day, but I remember majority of them just being real miserable people,
Oh, and I think the biggest thing with the taxi issue, I feel very bad for a lot of taxi drivers, like the New York ones, who have had to buy the medallion, the $200,000.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, these what a crock that is.
And
unions
don't
come after me.
Anything because of Uber and Lyft. So I feel for people like that, but at the same time, the taxi. Why do you think Uber and Lyft started? The taxi industry, what was beyond repair and still is, it destroyed itself. Let's be honest. I mean, you get into a taxi and it's just like, where are you going? You go there, and at the end, they're going to tell you how much you owe. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They're just going to give you an amount.
I remember I was in Europe. I was in the Canary Islands. This is like one of the coolest trips. It was like the summer before college. My friend and I were in a taxi. We took a taxi into town, and the taxi was like 10 euros or something. So we get there, and we park, and then he presses this magic button, and the price went from $10 to 30 euros. It was like, what the hell, dude? And then it's like, what the hell, what else are you going to do in that situation? Right. So it's like with Uber, it's like, how much it's going to be before you go. Right. And, in case only way it'll be more is if you add another stop or something like that. But yeah, I mean,
even that, the upfront pricing model, like it or not, exactly. Even during a surge time, you're paying more, but you see it. You know what the charge is going to be.
Yeah, and it's just way better. It is like, honestly, I mean, I do think like Uber is probably the greatest invention of the 21st century so far. I think it's
right. Is it perfect? Hell no. But I mean, it needs a lot of work. But it's but you're right. I mean, nobody's going to be getting in cabs again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's still some stragglers out there, but I mean, the newer generations, the people coming up, are not going to be taking taxi cabs.
No, I don't think they even know what they are anymore. I mean, do they? Like, I don't even know. Yeah. Like,
but oddly, there's still a bunch out there. I
mean, right. Yeah. Which that doesn't make sense to me. I know it's like, well, it's funny, man. Because when I was Ubering in LA, it was just when everything was like really catching on. I think, like 2016 or 2015. I think it came out in like 2012. I think was the first one I saw, right? Or 2013 maybe.
This is the 10th year.
The 10th year. Okay. Well, like it came out 2010, I guess. So, but then it didn't.
Yeah, but kind of small.
Yeah, like really small. Like so maybe 2011 then or 2012, I think was when it was first like kind of starting more to get big, or it came into LA. Anyway, bottom line is it was crazy. Like within a year or less, it was almost overnight. Like the taxis, like I would see dozens of taxis just on the side of the road, like waiting for rides, like, and And oh dang, my things are falling off. Sorry, I have these like panels, these blue panels that I just stuck on there, and they're not sticking. Anyway, yeah, so it was kind of funny, man. It was like I would drive up to a place in Hollywood. I'd see a ton of these drivers, these taxi drivers, just parked on the side of the road. Right, they're all outside of their taxi, like talking to each other. They're pissed off, and they'd like give me a dirty look. And then I'd drop someone off, and then I'd get another ride, and I would pick someone up from that same location and drive off. And they'd be so pissed, like.
Yeah.
Like I would be pissed too. I mean, but like at the same time, it's kind of like, it's like a horse and buggy carriage getting mad at someone driving a car. It's just.
I mean, most of those taxi drivers who don't have the medallions that New York City does, most of taxi drivers these days pay a super high weekly rate on their cab anyway.
Yeah, right. So
they're paying like $500 a week to have this piece of crap car with a taxi company that'll get them some rides, but isn't getting them the ride. So now they got to work way more. So you're talking about labor abuse anyway. Yeah, man. Yeah. So it's like, I would hope that these guys would, just do Uber. I mean, they'd be better off. Taxi drivers would be better off buying their own car that meets Uber standards and then just driving the platforms.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So yeah,
because it'd be way cheaper. They could go get a car for $200 a week payments, new $250, and not $500 for a piece of crap that they're never going to own. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It always just seemed like a racket, So I'm glad that it's gone by the wayside. But anyway, so let's go back to the safety type thing. Like, what do you think is like the number one thing that they could do right now to help improve safety in these apps?
True, meaningful follow through PR, where they really mean that we're going to be safer. How are you going to do it? How are you not going to bury it in a month? Your new methods, your new ways of doing this. How are you going to protect drivers and passengers? If a passenger is unruly, are you going to simply let the driver rate them 1 star and take their 4.9 down to a 4.88? Or are you going to suspend them from the platform like you would the driver? I don't know. There's just these days, so many people are running, almost every rideshare driver runs dash cams that you can prove that your passenger was unruly, but we all know Uber and Lyft's not going to get rid of that passenger. That's money.
Right. Yeah.
They'll take the abusive drunk passenger and not give that the weight that the drivers have for rating.
There should be a way to screen the passengers, right? Like, there should be a way because there was one that would be crazy. I mean, but like, I think there should be. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how, but like, I don't know, because there was that one girl I briefly mentioned in the video. I think she was picked up by Walmart. She was like 16 years old. She had a machete and like chop this guy up. It's just like,
the girl in Chicago.
Was that where it was?
Yeah, she just got sentenced to 33 years. She's now 18. It happened when she was 16.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So she killed
the driver with a machete.
Jeez. So she'll be 51 when she gets out. She didn't get life in prison for that.
I mean, I can't believe that. That's sad that she's going to get out.
Yeah, super sad. Yeah. Due to like, I've been watching a lot of forensic files and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, they were sentenced to 30 years, and then they go, but they served 5 on good and got out on good behavior. Say, oh, that's nice. They were a model prison citizen, and they get out, right? Like it's
right. Well,
that's a whole.
I mean, you run into a lot of gray area when you're talking about a 16-year-old because they're under the age of 18 when they committed the crime, so they're not an adult. But come on, let's be honest, folks. If you're a 16-year-old with a machete, you're just as crazy as an 18-year-old with a machete. I mean, that's not even just having a gun on you and thinking something happened that didn't and shooting somebody. That's like premeditated, messed up.
Yeah.
And the fact, that they can actually go back and blame Uber, the platform, and the driver because she's underage.
Totally. Yeah.
She shouldn't have been picked up in the first place.
Yeah. That's what's so hairy and scary. It's just there's so much with that. It's just I don't know.
You just gotta, it's not just, I don't know. It's not just driving around and just stop until somebody jumps in your backseat and going cool and leaving. You really gotta be alert. You gotta be aware. You have to be responsible for your scenario. Don't count on Uber and Lyft to do anything for you. That's part of why they keep pushing the independent contractor, and that's part of why we take it, because we're accepting that responsibility of running our own businesses. That means your car is your car. You make the call. You don't like the person? Cancel. Think they're too drunk? Cancel. They're being abusive? Cancel. Do what you need to do, but be willing to do that. Otherwise, don't work this gig.
Yeah, totally. Well, that is what's so crazy is like if you look at something like Airbnb or Uber, like Uber is a taxi company, essentially rideshare company, but they don't own any cars, right? So it's like it's really just more of an app. It's just a technology company, which is really interesting when you think about it. It's like they're running an app, and I think they're looking at doing like self-driving cars and stuff. I mean, that's a whole nother thing, but in the future, or like Elon Musk says that he wants to have his Tesla. Basically, you can have your Tesla be an Uber. So like it'll be self-driving while you're asleep, like picking people up. So that's crazy.
Yeah, the autonomous thing is kind of I've looked into that to quite some extent. It's kind of a pipe dream. It's a realistic good 30 to 40 years out. The technology will first be used on bus routes.
Yeah.
Where they only have to make right turns.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like literally a bus, if you think about it, a bus goes A to B down this road, takes a right turn, comes back. So that's where it's first going to be tested, and we're not even there.
Right.
There's all kinds of problems with the LiDAR systems. They don't work in snow, heavy rain, or fog. And if you followed, a couple times Uber has gone live with the autonomous, with the fact that you have to have a driver in the car, even though the car is driving itself. And we had 2 people killed.
Oh, wow.
For Uber autonomous. We had 1 killed in Arizona. We had 1 killed in Pittsburgh.
Really? Damn.
Because the driver was asleep and couldn't hit the brakes in time.
Oh my gosh. Wow. But it was supposed to be an autonomous car?
Yeah, so the autonomous car in both situations hit a person, killed them, and that woke the person who's supposed to be monitoring the autonomous car up.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So the person that died was the person that got hit, right? Not the passenger.
We're going so far with tech, these companies need to make their own little city out in the desert.
Yeah.
That nobody lives in, and that they're testing all this crap.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Go to live cities and go.
Yeah, just do these empty cities or like a racetrack. I mean, look, like it would be cool. I would definitely one day if all cars were autonomous and they're all like kind of talking to each other and smart cities, I guess, I could see that happening. But yeah, it's probably a lot further away. Like Elon Musk was saying something like 2 years from now. I'm like, damn, that would be crazy. But I think maybe if everyone was as fast as Elon Musk or, was able to do all that stuff in that time.
2019 was the target year for Uber and Lyft before they went public. So when they were still like just getting money from millionaires and billionaires that they knew to invest before they went public, they had this dream and this date of 2019, they'll be fully autonomous. No, you won't. I mean, now that they're public, they're having to produce this. Uber just sold its autonomous division, or it partnered up and completely split away from the Uber platform with a company in Russia called Yandex last week.
Oh, really?
There's no more Uber Autonomous. It's Uber Yandex out of Russia, and they'll be handling the technology.
Huh. Interesting. Wow. Dang. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so that seems like, it doesn't really seem feasible, especially if most cars are not autonomous. I mean, closest in car, even Teslas aren't even autonomous, it's really just autopilot. It's a smarter cruise control, essentially. I mean, wouldn't make sense if there's still like regular human drivers out on the road and it's just half are autonomous. I don't know. But
the technology's not there yet is the problem. I mean, people, when these kind of things start, people get all like hyped up about it. Like, when? Next week?
Right.
When you first hear about it, think like 50 years. It just means we're looking at things. You don't start jumping on the dates, because when you start saying target dates, that's when investors should know they're being conned.
Yeah, true.
I mean, when you see 2023 or 2025, or Uber just promised this week, even they just put out a new one. All their entire fleet in the United States will be 100% electric vehicles by 2030. How? They don't own one car.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, what?
I mean, that's the biggest false promise I've ever heard.
Wow. Yeah, it is one of those things. It just sounds like a great idea on paper, but then you get there, like 10 years flies by. It's like, I don't think we're quite there yet.
Right. I mean, I saw that on Twitter, and I couldn't even count the number of people who are like he'll be around in 2030.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the main thing to probably take away from this that kind of lands into what's going on, and going back to the comment and how this even started in my head, and I contacted you, is that just this job, and I'll say this forever because I believe it. This job is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And there it is. If you're looking for minimum wage work, I don't know why you're having trouble. There it is. In fact, you're hurting people by not taking a minimum wage job and trying to do rideshare, because if what you want is minimum wage and health insurance, you can go get that today and start tonight.
Right. Yeah. McDonald's is hiring, Taco Bell.
Yeah, McDonald's for sure, but then even tons of businesses right on up. If minimum wage is what you want, if that's your goal with health, you should be able to go get that job right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, it's the same thing as like bartending. I mean, if you're not any good at bartending, we don't want you behind the bar with it.
Oh, totally. Right.
It's
well, yeah, and that's the whole reason of like bartenders get tips, because if they were minimum wage, could you imagine, like, because the bartender just, if you're minimum wage, typically you just want the hours to go by, right? Like, there's no real incentive to work harder. There's no real incentive to get anyone's drink faster. It's like you can, or to be better, if you're not getting tips, right? Like there'd be zero incentive. Right. Yeah. So you just like have a lot of people that are just trying to not, just do enough so they don't get fired. And that's not a way. Also bartenders, good ones. Like I worked in an island bar that would get 3 deep. And so sometimes, I'd come into work, I'd be the fourth bartender on for the night. And there'd be a Rockies game across the street is the field, the stadium from where I was working. And I'd be the fourth bartender on, and the volume just wouldn't be there. And I knew that if I went on, we'd all make decent tips. But if I knew that if I didn't go on, they'd make great tips. So I just wouldn't work my shift that night. Oh, interesting.
Bartenders would be like, we got it. I'd show up and they'd be like, cool, I'd have a couple drinks, and then just to make sure it didn't get too crowded, and then I'd bounce. Wow. So wait, because if there was a fourth one, it would just hinder everyone else's tips? Yeah, because now you got to, because it was, all the tips were just pooled at the end of the night. Oh, I see. And then it was done by hours. Jeff was here 4.5. Eric was here 6.25. Steve was here this long. Oh, gosh. So, it would just be that, and then it would just be like, we made the, $1,400. So here's the breakdown. Yeah. Damn, dude. That's cool. Well, my studio is kind of, I put up all this stuff, and it's kind of falling off. I put this tape,
I've been taping my like this foam core stuff to the walls, and it's kind of falling off right now. I better start repairing that, putting it back on there. But I dude, awesome conversation here, Steve, and
Yeah.
freaking awesome. Yeah, talking like let's continue thinking about ways we can be safe. How do you think we could be safe on the app? You guys leave that in the comments below. And should we do more live stuff? Should I do more live event type things or just discussions? I don't know. I don't see why not. I think it's a cool opportunity. And we're approaching 4,000 subscribers, which I'm really pumped about. But in the meantime, guys, check out the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. Where can we find it, Steve?
Well, we host on Podbean, but you can find us in the Apple Store. You can find us on Spotify, Pandora, or any pod player app that you prefer. We're on all of them.
Heck yeah. Awesome, guys. Yes, the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. I'll write that in the comments right here. Rodeo podcast. Check it.
And it's a weekly podcast. It just comes out Tuesdays. So.
Okay. It comes out Tuesdays. Okay. And everywhere pod.
Yeah, we talk everything gig economy. We share some stories. We do some interviews. But yeah, I mean, we really go through a lot of stuff that's going on in the industry. So even if you're not in it and you ever want to, just tune in and see if it all, tips your fancy a little bit. We kind of try and keep the news balanced on both sides, so we're not leaning one way or the other. But we definitely bring our opinions in as well. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, that's good. That's a good way. That's a good way of doing it. Because we're all human beings, and we all have opinions, But you can't. I think it's harder to try and hide that you have one, and then try. Like, I think people smell it, like just by the way people. If you phrase something a certain way, like it's obvious, like what you're thinking. You know what I mean? So it's like it's so funny how a lot of people try to make it sound like they're saying news when they're really not. It's just more opinion, so it's a good balance of just saying, hey, this is what happened. These are things now this is what I think about all this. Right. So.
Yeah. And if anybody out there, if anybody listening wants to hear a good example of exactly what you're talking about right now, go to episode 10 and it says dumpling versus Instacart. In that episode of Rideshare Rodeo, I have a person who's very pro AB5 and a great dig worker too that I know in Chicago. And he's a known name for doing a lot of things. He definitely is pro AB5 in a big, big way. He knows that I'm not pro AB5. And he came on the show and we had one of the best conversations ever, but we sit on totally opposite ends of what we think this should look like.
Wow, that's great. Well, that's awesome. It's awesome to be able to have a conversation with people that have a completely different opinion than you. Wow, what a concept, you guys. What a concept. So thanks again, guys.
When you watch the Rideshare movie,
yes,
don't leave all the bad comments. I know some people are just negative, but leave some good ones too, people. God.
Oh, yeah. What'd you think of those comments, by the way, some of these comments?
I know, but some people just, it's too bad because the people who have the good comments usually don't leave them.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, actually, the one thing that because it's funny, like I posted these videos on my Facebook, and like some of my friends are like, "Oh, Tremaine, don't let these negative comments get you down. Everything's okay," and I'm like, dude, they don't get me down. I think they're funny. You know what I mean? So, and then
I almost think that I don't know if that's kind of what's going on, but I almost think that's what your YouTube thing should be about. It's just going through the comments.
No, totally. Well, and that's the thing is like, I'm trying, like I got this new office space and I'm trying to basically post content every single day. So, and that's kind of a really, quote unquote, easy way of, I could film multiple videos in a day reacting to comments. And actually like the first, like the negative one was supposed to be just one video about all the negative comments, but I decided to section it off because they were in different platforms. So it's like, oh, here's what the YouTube comments are saying. Here's what Amazon Prime people are saying. Here's what, IMDb people are saying. And the next round is actually all the positive comments, which there are it's like 10 to 1 more positive than negative. And at least on YouTube. Then there's like a lot of really positive ones on IMDb and on Amazon. So, and those are funny too. So, yeah. So, it is fun to do that and make these silly videos, but address what people are talking about. And yeah, I think it is a good format, and it's a cool way for me to create content and put it out there. So you like that? So I should do more, Steve. Should I do more?
I think so. I mean, just by doing it, other things will come. Like when I planned Rideshare Rodeo, it was pre-pandemic, and it was going to launch, and then the pandemic hit. Hadn't even seen it coming, and we held off because UberLiftDrivers.com had been riding for 3 years, and so this was finally going to happen, and we put it off. And then I said, why? The pandemic's the perfect time to launch it.
Yeah.
So
totally.
it anyway, and I had a plan of how it was going to go, and now it's definitely found it's found its format for sure, but it's not the format I had envisioned.
Yeah, because it evolves, right? It evolves, and then you do something, and you're like, oh, this works, this doesn't work. Oh, it would be cool if we try this. It'd be cool if we try that. Like,
Right. And it's not like I'm upset with the way it evolved. It's just crazy because it's not at all what I saw this as. But now it flows really nicely, and it's just got a good way about it. And now if it's appealing to a lot of people, we're getting a lot of listens and good feedback, and we're getting good interviews on, and we get good content, I think.
Hell yeah, man.
I don't know. Obviously, a lot of drivers are enjoying it too, because there's a couple other podcasts out there that maybe they aren't as fun. We try and keep it fun too.
Yeah, you got to have fun. I mean, it's like you don't want to, no one wants to watch boring, lame content. You want to keep it fun, keep it interesting, talk about interesting things, and have interesting guests on there. So, yeah, dude. I appreciate you having me on, and me being, and you, having me do this, or letting me do this live stream here for content for my channel and everything. And hopefully people like it. Trying to get my subscribers to be a bit more engaged. I think because the more I post and the more I'm engaged, putting attention to this channel, the more they'll be engaged. So it's actually really more on me than anything. But yeah, I hope you guys like this. I'm gonna end the stream for a second, and then I'll say goodbye to you, Steve. So, all right, guys, check out the Rideshare Rodeo podcast right now. Go check it out. Do it. And if you like this video, click that like button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe button. Steve, what's your final words?
Oh, what's mine?
Yeah, final words.
Watch the Rideshare movie. And if you have a post-traumatic stress disorder or you hate horror movies, don't watch the
Rideshare movie. That's great advice, straight from Steve, guys. Yes, don't. Yeah, if you have, just you heard it there. Nothing more to add there. All right, I'm gonna end the stream now. All right, guys.